am I. Is this my perfect mini bass rig? Jules fret wrap is on. So I'm taking a look at my newish mini bass rig today. First of all, what's a rig? Well, it's an amp, but it tends to be not a combo. A combo amp is when you have the actual amplifier and cabinet speaker combined. This, if I'm very careful, you can actually see this bit lifts up. This is the amp itself, or the head, and this is the cabinet speaker. I'm not gonna lie, I've been dreaming of this kind of setup for years and years, and I've definitely been after one of these barefaced cabinets for quite a while. They have fantastic reputation. They are absolutely superbly built, and we'll take a little listen later, but I think the combination with the Genzler, so this is the Barefaced 110 cabinet, and this is the Genzler MG350. Okay, so my new mini bass rig, but is it perfect? So obviously I'm focusing my mini bass rig with my mini basses, my bass ukuleles, but this kind of a setup will work with any bass instrument, bass guitar, double bass, and of course your bass ukes. I keep saying perfect mini bass rig. It's got to be perfect for me. All right, because everybody's equipment is personal to you. So I'm looking for slightly different things than other people would. I'm even looking at different things now compared to a few years ago. So what is making my rig perfect for me? Let's be honest, I'm not getting any younger. 50 now, it's awful saying that. You know, and things like size and, more importantly, weight has got to be one of my biggest things. You know, I'm carrying equipment around. So when I'm looking at things these days, they're going to look a little bit different to what I used to look at a while ago. So we've got to sort of talk about my evolution of my bass playing and where my bass amplification has gone through over the years. Now, I started off as a double bass player and bass guitarist. I actually started playing double bass. I swapped from cello when I was 11 and almost instantly started playing bass guitar as well, because they're identical in terms of where the notes are and strings and things. Now, even though back in the day, we're talking almost 40 years ago now, but even when I was playing acoustic double bass, I would still be expected to take along an amp and a bass guitar if I was playing, for example, in a big band, all right? And suddenly a double bass, now I've managed to actually find some footage, all right, of me in double bass. So double bass is rather a large item. It's not particularly heavy, but it is large. But also the sort of amplifiers and bass guitars I was lugging around back then, we're talking beasts. The first amp I used was, it was a valve amp. I could barely pick it up. So I would turn up for gigs and things with a double bass, a very large amp, and a bass guitar. That clip there, that's not me. That is my friend Jackie, who I've added it because this is how far we go back. She actually plays in Cool Hand Ukes, the ukulele group that I play in, and she plays bass and I play ukulele. So these big amps that I speak of, I haven't got any of those really old, very large and very heavy items left. The biggest amp I've got here now, it has featured in my bass amplifier video. It's my Warwick CCLND. It's a 250 watt amp. It's big. You can just see the size of it there. All right. But rather than it just being big, it is heavy. So the Warwick actually weighs in at a massive 29 kilograms, 64 pounds. All right, it's got little wheels on it, but it hasn't been practical to lug around for many years. Lovely sound, but no good for gigging or even taking out the house these days. Way too big for an old person like me. My other bass rig, my MarkBass, and again, this is a rig because it's a combo amp, but it also has a cabinet speaker with it. I can take it out with just the top bit, the amplifier, and that gives me 300 watts. But if I add the extra speaker to it, that actually ups the volume output to a massive 500 watts. Now, the MarkBass setup, as it is together like that, is actually lighter than the Warwick bass amp. But even just carrying the little top combo about, and just to give you an idea, each bit of the MarkBass weighs about 13.5 kilograms or 30 pounds. All right, so just lugging up the combo on that it's doable, all right? But add that to a heavy bass guitar, and it's manageable, but it's not comfortable. I have gone into a lot more detail on my other amps, the Warwick, the MarkBass, and a couple of practice amps. So I'll drop a link below to that video. Now the MarkBass I'm using, or have been using, for gigging right up until the COVID pandemic. And yeah, I can get in and out of a venue in one trip. I'll talk about that a bit more later. All right, but that is quite important. So by the time you've got your instrument, your bass, whether it's your bass ukulele or bass guitar, and your actual amplifier, it's important to be able to transport it around. Now that means lugging it in and out of actual venues, but it also means getting it in and out of transportation. So as a bass player, transportation has always been quite important to me. So what we'll do now is we'll pack this up, and we will have to go outside to see what this is like in terms of transporting it. As I said, it's not just what equipment sounds like to me these days. It very much is how easy can I actually handle it? Can I manage to carry it in and out of places? And can I manage to put it in and out of cars? And so just before I pack this up into everything to take outside to go and check how perfect it is, amp bag, all right? But as you know, I've gone digital, so there we go. Just in this little bag, which is going to fit my amp, there's my iPad with all my music in it as well. So you're thinking about how can you transport your equipment as easily and as quickly as possible. The least amount of items, the lighter they are, how easy are they to put in and out of cars. So having had big cars for many years as a double bass player, I don't think I'm going to have any problems fitting this rig in here. And these are all things you've got to think about if you're taking your equipment out. So, first thing, the largest, the cab. There we go. That fits in quite nice. I can put the head of the amp, tuck it in there, and of course I've got other bits and pieces in that bag as well. And then bass fits really nice. Ooh. Added bonus, the security top comes over, so that all fits in really nice. But more than that, it's light and it's easy. All right, that's a one journey in and out of somewhere. Okay, so yes, it's a definite thumbs up for getting in and out of transport. So rather than asking, is it a perfect mini rig, we're going to ask, is the rig perfect for a mini? So I've had Monty the Mini a few years. Never, I always knew I could fit a ukulele or two into it, but never really considered taking it out gigging at all, or with a bass rig. So we're going to try the mini bass rig. I'm not overly confident, but we'll give it a go. So does my mini bass rig fit in my Mini? So as you can imagine, the boots of Minis are not very big. They're even smaller on a convertible. Let's try the cab to start with. So my barefaced cab is lovely and light. Ooh. It's close. No, not that way. No, unfortunately not. It's literally a centimetre or two. Alright, it's really close, but unfortunately the cab doesn't fit in the boot. So the cab doesn't fit, but I do want to try the bass uke and the actual amp, the head amp. I've put plenty of ukuleles in here, but I've never put a bass. So the head amp goes in lovely. My California U-Bass, but of course this case fits all my basses, so if the case fits in, all my U-basses and bass ukuleles will fit. Lovely. There you are. So the bass ukes and my amp, the head from the rig, fits. Let's just see if we can squeeze the cab in somewhere. All is not lost. The cab sits quite nicely actually on the back seat. It's nice and light. It's easy enough to lift over the top. I'm sure actually it'd be easy enough to put in even if the roof was up. So I can get my mini rig in my Mini. It doesn't all fit in the boot, but it does all fit in the Mini. Oi, what are you doing in there? And I know some of you will want to know why the Mini is called Monty. I'll explain at the end. So the rig itself, I'm not going to lie, it's not cheap. The cabinet speakers are around, I think they start from about £420. The amplifier was £399. Now at the moment, as it is, this will pump out about 250 watts, all right? But if I was to add another one of these speakers, a bit like my MarkBass rig where I've got the 2 speakers, this would then go up to 350. And of course you can always, there's a direct line out of the amp, so I could always plug into a PA as well if I needed to go much louder and keep this set on stage with me to use as a monitor. So I mentioned the weight of the Warwick and the MarkBass. This one, the cab is 7 kilograms, or let me work that out, 15 pounds. So that's almost half the weight of the MarkBass combo, and the actual head amp is very little, 1.5 kilograms. What's that working out? 3.5 pounds. So a total weight of this of 8.6 kilograms, or a whopping 18.5 pounds. Way lighter than just the combo of the MarkBass, and as I said, this comes apart to make it even easier to carry. So it's very light. The actual dimensions, it's difficult to really show you. I wasn't putting it on the floor, I'd have to bend down then. But you're talking overall height of 18.5 inches, 47 centimetres, width 29 centimetres, 11.5 inches. All right, it's very small and really easy to carry around. And as you could see with the car, when you carry this bit, the handle's on the side, so it actually flips around, and really handy, it's got feet both on this side and underneath. All right, so you could lay it widthways down to play it. So a little sound demo. I've set up a condenser mic in front of the amp, so hopefully we'll have the best quality audio coming from that. And I'm going to start with my little Nik West California U-Bass. And remember, keep an eye on my decibel reader just to give you an idea of the volume. It's tiny, but it puts out an excellent sound. Always mute or turn off your amps before you unplug them. Here's Pinky. This is my cheap solid body bass ukulele, my cheap one off eBay, but it's got polyurethane or rubber strings, so this is going to sound very different to the California U-Bass, which had round one strings. Slightly quieter in volume than the Carla, but definitely sounds really nice with those rubber strings coming through. It isn't just the weight of the rigs, the weight of the instrument is something you should think about as well. This is a beast. This bass guitar weighs more than that rig. So as I promised right at the beginning, here is a bass guitar. This is my Warwick double buck Zebrano, just to give you a little idea what the bass rig sounds with this. So my tiny little bass rig works absolutely great with bass guitars. And that's actually really good to know, because I may end up going out taking this gigging and taking bass guitars as well as bass ukes. So much lighter, honestly. So you think smaller amp, rig, smaller, lighter bass. Yeah, I'm getting older. This is definitely getting easier. And to think, a few years ago, I didn't even realise that bass ukuleles were the same as bass guitars or double basses. So the last little demo is my Carla Fretless U-Bass. Always remember, if you've got a tuner on the side, make sure it's switched off before you start playing. So, is it my perfect mini bass rig? Well, we've established it's not the perfect rig for a mini. Rather, it doesn't fit in the boot of my mini, but it does fit in the mini. Overall, I can't even compare it to the big Warwick or any of the old big amps I used to carry around. It is certainly easier to carry around than my MarkBass combo amp, and much easier to carry around than the whole MarkBass rig, but of course that is more powerful. And mentioning both of those, this one and the MarkBass, if you're looking to go small and you're looking to go loud, you have to go expensive. I'm afraid there is no getting out of that. Yes, I could carry a little practice bass amp around, but that is not going to cut through on gigs. That's something you have to remember. And of course it is the overall quality of the sound that you're having as well. Perfect? As close to perfect as I can ask for, certainly at the moment anyway. It's small, it's light, It sounds great. I haven't gigged with it yet. I can't imagine anything particularly going wrong with the rig. I can have things go wrong with the basses, I'm sure. But it will be interesting to see how this cuts through when I'm playing in a group. And I know arriving at gigs now is going to be a lot easier. So if you're still watching and still wondering why my Mini is called Monty, that's actually the original paintwork, and the paint colour is called Dreamline Python. Monty Python, get it? So my perfect mini bass rig, or as perfect as I'm going to find, I think. I've certainly enjoyed making this video. I've learned a few things about my new rig. I do hope you've enjoyed it and maybe it's helped. As always, if you've got a comment or a question, please feel free, leave it below. Give us a like if you've enjoyed, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on new videos. Thank you for watching.